The app, available from the App and Play Store.
Sunrise Radio.
Prime Minister, thank you for inviting us to number 10 Downing Street. Sunrise Radio is the UK's first 24-hour Asian commercial radio station in the UK, licensed in 1989, coverage area of West London. It soon expanded to a London-wide service, and 8 years ago, it achieved its ultimate coverage goal, becoming a nationwide service in the UK. Today, Sunrise Radio stands as the UK's only national Asian commercial radio station. The station's broadcast service goals have always remained the same since inception. Entertainment, news and information, and commercial opportunity, in short, giving the South Asian community a voice and to be part of the conversation, socially, economically and politically. In 1989, when Sunrise Radio launched, there was one South Asian MP. Now, at the last general election, there were 66 ethnic minority MPs. This progress culminating with a British Asian MP first elected in the 2015 general election in the North Yorkshire constituency of Richmond. And 7 years later, Rishi Sunak was elected to the highest office in the land in 2022. Prime Minister, our listeners would like to know your British Asian backstory, which I'm sure many, if not all, shall resonate with. Growing up, interests, dreams, aspirations, and the challenges you faced.
Well, hi, Tony. Great to be with you and welcome to Downing Street. Look, I think my story is probably, as you said, it's probably very similar to lots of people who are listening, probably not that similar to yours as well. You know, my family emigrated here, via East Africa for my parents, and I grew up in Southampton. Dad was a GP, mum was a pharmacist, and, what to remember about my childhood, you were brought up with a set of quite strong values, the first of which was just work hard, because you don't get anywhere in life without hard work. You'll resonate with that. That's how we're raised. Impressed upon us so strongly the value of education. That was the be-all and end-all of everything. It was, you've got to study hard. And, for my parents, getting us great education was the priority, because that was, for them, the best way to give their kids a better life than they had. And then lastly, community, right? Just being part of your community, giving back. And I saw my parents do that during their jobs, but also we were at the Munda a lot in Southampton, which I still try and get back to, once in a while, and just doing what you could to help other people in your community and being a part of it was something that was really important to us. But I think all those things were exactly the same values that everyone else like me, like you, was raised with.
Absolutely. Whilst you were growing up, were you working within the family business?
Yes.
Weekends, evenings, after school?
Yeah.
I even heard that you was waiting at a local restaurant.
I did. Yeah, I did both. Again, probably not that dissimilar. So it's special having a family business, right? It really is a family business. Everyone has to pitch in. As my mum was a pharmacist, but we, at some point, bought a pharmacy, or we collectively, family, bought a pharmacy. And that's what we did, right? So I worked for her in the back in the dispensary a lot, all the holidays, weekends. And then I also did all the books. My Nanaji worked for HMRC for a very long time, but he taught me how to use one of these. It was the Simplex D kind of VAT accounting book to do all the bookkeeping, which I doubt anyone uses anymore. And then at some point I moved it all online to the computer. But so I did all of that for my mum, did all the banking, took the stuff to the bank in those little packets, which again will be familiar to lots of your small business listeners. But I also, because my dad thought that was all good and well, but I also needed to go work in the restaurant because it was hard. And my God, he was right. I mean, you're on your feet all afternoon, evening, and that was tiring. But it was good. You got to talk to lots of people, and my job was to clear all the tables, set the tables. At some point by the end, I was promoted enough to take people's drinks orders and give them their papadums and chutneys and things. But it was hard work, but it's good, right? It teaches you the value of it and gets you out and about talking to lots of people. So those are the main things I did growing up.
One of the funnies that I always remember growing up was I couldn't really laugh because it'd be, as well as other family friends or other relatives, Asians had the tendency of getting a brand new sofa by making sure that the plastic covering remained on it. Did you ever face that? Was that ever in your
So we weren't allowed, so my mum was very protective over our sofas for all the same reasons. So we were never allowed to eat in our living room, right? And so that was definitely not allowed, apart from once a week. On Saturday evenings, we were allowed to take food into that room, and we had to spread out a plastic picnic mat on the floor and have our KFC or our pizza on a Saturday night as we watched the A-Team. But that because she was very, very protective over the sofas. But there was a lot of coverings on a lot of things. Actually, in the car, we had them in the car as well at some point. Which is,
it is a bit part of popular Asian culture, actually.
Yeah.
It would be fair to say you've had two of the hardest briefs in recent living memory, certainly in my 51 years. First as Chancellor dealing with a once-in-a-century event, the COVID-19 pandemic, and secondly as PM coming out of the pandemic, dealing with a world that feels like it's in an extremely fragile, dangerous place, as well as the diplomatic challenges that raises and the impact of the global issues have contributed, with severe ripple effect on food and energy costs over the past 2 years and the impact on the cost of living crisis. Firstly, what drives you and keeps you going in a job that surely there's no release or pressure? 9 years ago, before entering politics, you had a very successful career. What led you on this path? And describe a day in the life of a PM.
Yeah, so what got me into it originally was actually my parents. I was saying my mum was pharmacist, dad was GP. And I saw in Southampton growing up what a difference they made to the community. And wherever we'd go, we'd be out shopping or whatever, people would always come and say something nice to them and thank you. And when I was out delivering prescriptions for my mum, then talking to their patients, they'd go, "Oh, you're Mrs. Sunak's son, you're Dr. Sunak's son." And then they would tell me some lovely story about what my parents had done for them or their parents, grandparents or kids. And I thought that was incredible that you could have that impact on a community. And that was my inspiration for wanting to be a member of parliament. And hopefully I can do the same now for my constituents in North Yorkshire. But you're right about the situation more generally. It's been tough, right? It's been tough for the country, tough for your listeners, and it's made the job hard. No point sugarcoating it. It is a difficult time to be doing this. And there's no point pretending otherwise. In terms of what gets me through, like many of your listeners, right? I'm a Hindu. I was raised that way, and for me, the Gita is quite helpful, right? When I'm having tough days, of which there are many, you kind of reach for it and the things that it teaches you, and very much I try and focus on dharma, right? On the concept of dharma that Lord Krishna talks to Arjun about, and it is about that you are here to do your duty, and you need to do it to the fullest of your ability. And you need, and this is the hardest bit, is you need to just detach yourself from the outcome. Now, those are the kind of simple, they sound simple, the lessons from the Gita, and they are hard to put in practice, right? Let's be honest, because we're all human. But I try and focus on that. I'm like, I'm doing my duty. This is what I'm here to do. I do it as well as I can and give it my all. And you have to try and just detach yourself from the outcome of that. And it is hard, but that is a way that I get through these things and just focus on doing what I believe to be right, working my hardest at it. And as I said, and what will be, will be. But that's where, when I have my difficult times, I reach for the teachings of the Gita because it helps you. And I think that, by the way, it's quite a good general life advice anyway. But that's what helps me. That and my incredible wife, who is very supportive.
You're absolutely right. And in terms of a day in the life of a Prime Minister, when I think about the job and your daily worksheet, I mean, it must be just mind-boggling.
It's lots of people work hard, right? So in one sense, yes, the job's hard, you work long hours, but lots of people do that, right? But what is particularly challenging about it compared to other things I've done in my life is the change. I mean, your day is measured in half-hour chunks at best for the most part. And you just have to go from thing to thing to thing, and all of them are quite different mentally, emotionally, or physically. So, you go from an interview like this, talking to school kids who are coming in about, their life and joking around with them. You could be chairing a cabinet meeting. You've got a national security issue to deal with. You've got a policy meeting to grapple through something that we're trying to do to reform our welfare system or get waiting lists down. You're in Parliament making a statement. There's just so much variety in the day, and in one day having to go through so many different things, all of which require, as I said, a slightly different state of mind. That's a challenge. And you're sitting there with the kids painting butterflies or bumblebees in a nursery, which I did very badly last time I did it, and at the same time knowing I've got to go back in half an hour because I've got to deal with this quite serious national security issue which no one knows about. And you're there with the kids, present in the moment, knowing that you're kind of at the back of your head, you've got this other thing to deal with right afterwards. So that is the challenge.
Yeah. I'd also just like to share a small brief anecdote of when the COVID-19 pandemic was going in. Just like many other businesses, my business was under severe pressure, cost challenges and everything else. Yeah. And I remember writing a note to you on your constituency email, even though you were not my constituency MP, which you're not supposed to do. And you very kindly, just to let you know, you wrote a note back to me. It was short and sweet, but, you acknowledged and you wished us all the best and the service that we're providing. and that kind of helped us.
Oh,
I was
I'm
thinking,
really glad. I'm really glad. Yeah, it was a really tough time, but so many businesses like yours impacted by the pandemic. We never dealt with that before as a country in that way. And I'd had this job, as you said, for about 3 weeks before this thing hit us. And that's how most people got to know me, right? They're probably, who's this chap on our TV screens, and why is he talking about furlough, and what on earth does that mean?
Yeah.
That's what the moment demanded, right?
Yeah.
And I acted, with my values. We talked about hard work earlier. It's really important to me. Jobs are important to people, not just because they bring financial security, of course they do, but actually work gives you dignity, it gives you purpose, it gives you hope, you build a life around it. And I was terrified of people losing that. And that's why I thought the right thing for the government to do was step in, create the furlough scheme, protect people's jobs. And it worked. We got through it, had the fastest economic recovery coming out of the pandemic as a result.
I think it was totally the unknown, and everybody, I wouldn't like to use the word trial and error, but it literally was that. You had to give it all, come up with the best scheme, and see how things went.
And we had to keep trying different things and new things. The situation evolved, but we got through it as a country, and then economically ended up having the fastest recovery out of the pandemic compared to most European countries, which was was a good thing.
Okay, at the start of 2023, you outlined 5 key pledges: halving inflation, economic growth, debt falling, NHS waiting lists, and small boats. How do you think your pledges have fared to date?
So, different on all of them. Inflation was the most important one, because when I got this job, inflation was running at 11%.
Yeah. So it's more than half.
It's more than half. It's down to 3.2 in the last figures. And that's really positive, because that is easing the burden on the cost of living. And that stuff doesn't happen by accident, right? It's because we've got an economic plan and we stick to it and it's delivered. Next, growing the economy. It's not growing as fast as anyone would like. We know that. But it outperformed all expectations last year, first year of my premiership. And this year we're off to a very good start. We'll get the numbers in a few weeks. And because of that, we've been able to start cutting people's taxes. So actually in pay slips that are coming this week, people will see the benefits of on average £900 tax cut for an average person in work. State pensions going up by £900. Wages have been rising, for something like 9 months in a row ahead of inflation. So on that side, we are making progress, particularly on the tax cuts. Reducing debt, that's important for all our kids' financial security. We shouldn't be, leaving them bills that we didn't want to pick up, and that's not right. So all our plans to get debt on a falling trajectory are in place. We're meeting our fiscal rules as an independent auditor who looks at those. And then on waiting lists, I wish we had made more progress there. And I come from an NHS family, so it's personal to me. Obviously, pandemic, backlogs, strikes have all been challenges. But what we do know now is in the last 5 months, the waiting lists are down by about 200,000. So that is progress. Plans are starting to work. And also, I said, son of a pharmacist, one of the things we've done is made sure that you can now go and see your pharmacist to get the medicines for common ailments like sore throat, sinusitis, ear infection, rather than have to make an appointment and see your GP. And that change is transformational, right?
Which my daughter did the other day.
Oh, did you? Brilliant, right? And as I keep hearing from people, it's just a change that we've brought in, which will really help people get the care they need. And then on stopping the boats, which we talk about, illegal migration is unfair, right? It's not right. I come from a family of migrants, as do you. Yeah. But when people jump the queue, come here illegally, it undermines that sense of fairness, which is so central to the British character. Obviously puts unsustainable pressure on public services. That's why it's right that we tackle it. Otherwise, people will lose faith and consent in the overall system, which would be very bad. And last year, the numbers were down by over a third. After having gone up and up and up, last year, the numbers were down by a third. So it shows we're making progress. And we've got a Rwanda scheme that we've got through Parliament, and we're going to get it up and running.
Looking at the numbers, inflation, you're correct, has more than halved. It looks like it's going to get towards the 2% target towards the end of the year. Economic growth coming out of recession,
returned,
and growth is going to be there. Debt falling, I think that's from the numbers what I see in the public domain. It's kind of stalled, and debt in recent times. So
it is on track. It's on track to fall, as we said. So the way we measure that is there are these things called fiscal rules, which have debt falling over the medium term as a share of the economy. And the Office for Budget Responsibility, which is the independent auditor I mentioned, has confirmed that we're on track to meet our fiscal rules on that. And then on waiting list, as you know, that is a challenge.
And just going back onto the boats, do you think the Rwanda policy, which is passed into law, do you think that will be the silver bullet?
So I don't think there is one silver bullet. I've always said this problem is complex, and that's why we've done lots of different things. We created a new small boats operational command in the Channel to do more activity there, more joint patrols on French beaches. We've got to deal with Albania so we could return migrants there because they accounted for a lot before I became Prime Minister. And we've done more enforcement here in the UK, doubled the budget for the National Crime Agency, massively increased the number of illegal working raids, closed bank accounts of illegal migrants, all these things. So there's lots of different things that have enabled us to get the numbers down and actually return 150 hotels back to local communities across the country, which is really positive. But in order to fully grip this problem, you do need a deterrent. It needs to be the case that if someone comes here illegally, then they won't be able to stay. And they'll be returned either to their own country at safe or Rwanda as an alternative. So you do need that as part of your arsenal. That's why I've worked so hard to get the bill through Parliament. And we've done all the prep work and flights will be going in July.
Okay, thank you, Prime Minister. What is your proudest achievement and moment in politics, either as a backbencher, Chancellor or Prime Minister?
Well, if I'm being honest, I was really excited to play cricket in the garden of number 10 with the T20.
I saw that. I don't think you wanted to finish it. I didn't think you wanted to go back to work that day.
Yeah, no, I was having a very, very good time. That was a lot of fun. I mean, as a massive cricket fan, to be able to play cricket with some of the England cricket team in that garden is quite a treat. No, some of the other things, as a junior minister, my first job actually, one of the things I did was change the planning laws and increase funding for something called Changing Places, which people who have children with complex disabilities will be familiar with, which are disabled toilets, but for those with complex disabilities who need space for a changing bench and a hoist. And I wasn't actually familiar with that. Actually, some constituents came to see me about it in Yorkshire and they wanted to talk to me about disabled toilets. And I kind of in the back of my head thought we had fixed that. I see them everywhere. And then they explained how their children needed changing places, which are different. And because there weren't enough of them, they weren't able to participate in all the other things that kids got to do in the holidays or with their siblings. And that really struck me and moved me. And we managed to find more money. So we're rolling out more of those across the country. We changed the planning laws so that those types of facilities are now built when people build big buildings or attractions, and raised awareness of it amongst tourists and leisure facilities around the country. So that that's made a difference to people. And it was something that I don't think everyone acknowledged was an issue at the time or recognised, so I was pleased to be able to do something about that.
Okay, great. We met for the first time when you were a parliamentary candidate at a Diwali event in 2014 in London. I introduced myself to you and your wife, and remember saying the magic words, Sunrise Radio, and you told me proudly that your parents were avid fans of the station. Do you have any memories of Sunrise Radio? This year we celebrate 35
years in November, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is an extraordinary achievement, actually. An extraordinary achievement and testament to everything that you've done. Yeah, and I grew up with it. My dad especially remains an avid fan. And it was, I'm trying to think, when I was a kid, it was at 1458 was the frequency, right? Or at least that's what I remember it to be. Yeah. And even my brother and sister, at first we're like, why are we listening to this? And then, and then it was quite a fun part of all our travels. And I remember the companies that had all the ads back then, it was Southall Travel and Himalaya Carpets, which I don't know if they're still advertising. They are. Yeah, but that was actually just ingrained in our memory, and we would sing along to all those ads for those two. And then you did have that, we were chatting this morning, is that 5 minutes, you give 5 minutes and we'll give you the world, right? That's,
the jingle.
So look, but it was those ads, Southall Travel and Himalaya Carpets, and you kind of sing along to, and that was it, but that was it. But there was an amazing achievement. I can't believe it. 35 years. Wow! Congratulations. No. That's done so much for for British Asians across the country. Right.
Thank you very much for that, Prime Minister. I'm sure it means a lot to my team. It means a lot to the listeners and to the British Asian community. Just a couple of more questions. I could carry on for the rest of the day, and just a bit like your cricket, I'm sure you want to stick around, but you've got to get back to work. But what do you do to let off a bit of steam and take a bit of time out for yourself?
What do I do? Well, I was saying I love cricket. So if I can play cricket, then I do. Actually, last night I was at the Nets doing a session, which was great. I often do it with my cousin. I love watching cricket and football. So I'm from Southampton, so a big Saints fan, and then otherwise spending time with my kids, which I have two young girls who I don't see enough, but I love spending a bit of time with them. So those are kind of the main things.
Right. To finish off, If I may do a little bit of Desi trivia.
Oh.
No questions about asking how much is a loaf of bread, as we are Indians and we eat roti.
Yeah.
Okay, here goes. Quick fire round.
Here we go.
Do you dance to Bollywood or Bhangra?
Oh, that is tough. Obviously, both. Funny enough, I just watched Bend It Like Beckham with my kids.
Well, Sunrise Radio appears in that.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah. And I did that over Easter, and actually, that was my childhood Bhangra band was B21.
Oh. And
Darshan is one of my all-time favourite Bhangra songs, which the kids were then getting very surprised because I was when it came on, I was very excited. So I definitely do both. So I can't. You can't make me choose between those.
Sure,
my playlists they're merged. I have a good running playlist, which is a merged Bollywood Bhangra playlist.
Favourite Bollywood movie?
Oh, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum.
Well, great choice. Favourite Indian meal or dish?
Oh, that is tough. If I'm being honest, then I will have to say some chicken curry, garlic naan. But if my wife is listening, she'll be upset that I'm not saying something South Indian and not saying.
I was here at the Kentucky event. I know you was enjoying the Madhu's food.
It was very good. Actually, they were here the other night for another dinner I had. Actually,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm probably probably I would say any chicken curry, garlic naan, and then anything tandoori. So that's probably on the savoury side. But if my wife's listening, then obviously idli, sambar, I'm just going to get that on the record, so that's fine.
Favourite Indian dessert: gulab jamun, rasmalai, or kulfi?
Oh gosh, my nani cheese rasmalai. Probably my nani cheese rasmalai.
She'll be happy.
Yeah, she's not with us anymore, but it was very good. It was that was very special.
Favourite IPL cricket team?
When my wife's from Bangalore, RCB, who had a brilliant win at the weekend, which Will Jacks, I don't know if everyone saw that. That was that century watching.
I'm sure Ranjit probably did.
Yeah, that was an incredible effort from Will Jacks, which we need because RCB are sadly bottom of the table. But there we go. Actually, my in-laws are visiting, so good cricket chat this week when they're here. What
football team do you support?
Southampton. I'm a massive, lifelong Saints fan.
Yeah, I've been down there many times as an away fan. I'm a West Ham fan myself.
Okay.
So,
I'd say championship playoffs this week.
Yeah, I think you've got as good a chance as any.
Well, let's see. It's going to be busy May.
Favourite type of holiday? Are you a beach pool person or a sightseeing adventurer?
I am a beach person. My wife, actually, there is more sightseeing. So
I think you need to get some relaxation in.
That's what I'd like to say. But so we have to kind of meet in the middle on those things.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Prime Minister, it's been an absolute pleasure. And, to have the first British Asian Prime Minister in the United Kingdom sitting here today and speaking to the British Asian community on Sunrise Radio, I'm sure it means a lot to them.
Tony, thanks for having me. It's a real treat. As I said, I grew up with your radio station, so it means a lot to me to be able to come and talk to you on it. But also thanks to all your listeners. We talked about the job being difficult. I get a lot of support from a lot of people in the community. I'm really grateful for it, and I know people are willing me on to succeed, and it means a lot. So thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone listening.
Sunrise Radio. The app available from the App and Play Store.